what should your diet look like when you're donating plasma? What should you eat before you go donate? What should you eat after? A lot of people have had questions like these in the comments, and so today I aim to answer a lot of them all at once and give you some useful information about what your diet should look like as you donate plasma regularly. This is based off my experience and what I've learned from the different plasma centers that I've been to, and this will definitely help you feel confident in your plasma donation preparation and recovery. If you like videos like this, please subscribe to the channel. I have a lot of videos that talk all about the ins and outs of donating plasma, best practices, tips and tricks, things like that. I also make other videos about different little side hustles you can do to earn passive income, to make a little extra money on the side. I just made a video about a cool app called Ibotta. You can get $30 pretty much instantly. It's pretty sweet, so check that one out. I'll put a card up at the top of the video. But without further ado, let's jump into your diet and donating plasma. So probably the most important thing that you need to look out for is your protein level. You want to make sure you're consuming enough protein in your diet. Protein's actually one of the things that they measure when they do the screening. And if your protein level's too low, they can't take your plasma. You'll be deferred for the day. And so, chicken, eggs, things that are high in protein like that are really important to incorporate into your diet, especially before the donation. The meal before, it's good to have a lot of protein, and the meal after, it's good to have a lot of protein because you want to replenish that protein that you lose from the plasma that's taken from you. It's particularly hard if you're a vegan or vegetarian. You can definitely get the protein that you need through vegetables and plant-based options. It's just something you might have to be more deliberate about, more intentional about what you eat to make sure your protein is high enough. But of course, they won't let you donate if your protein levels aren't high enough. They'll check for that, so don't worry as far as safety and your health goes. So that's something to be aware of. You're also going to want to incorporate iron-rich foods into your diet, like spinach. Things that are going to help your hematocrit levels is something also that they measure each time you donate plasma. That isn't something that I've had to intentionally look for. It's never been something that's come up for me in the many times that I've donated, but it's just a good thing to keep in the back of your mind. I mean, spinach and things that have iron in them is really good for you anyway. Women, that might be something that you look at more. It replenishing it and making sure that you have iron in your diet. One thing you really want to look out for when you're choosing your diet is fats. So fats can actually prevent you from donating plasma, and they can actually have you removed from the donation process early. And it depends on the center you're going to, and it depends on the machines that they're using. So in my experience, I've been to Grifols, BioLife, and CSL. The Grifols and the CSL centers that I went to had the machines that are shorter, more cube-shaped, that have a centrifuge or a bowl that separates the blood from the plasma. And those machines the process of separating the plasma from the blood either removes the issue of having fatty blood or lipemic plasma, or it just doesn't screen for it, and they don't worry about it. But if they have the taller machines, the ones that are more narrow and tall, that use a semi-permeable membrane to separate your blood from the plasma, and this is the case at BioLife where I'm going to right now, those do detect lipemic plasma or plasma that has too much fat in it. And after 6 times of the alarm going off, and if you have fat plasma, those machines never fail. They'll end your donation early, and that stinks because then you get the minimum pay, $20, and it really cuts down that compensation you could be getting from donating plasma. And so the way that you avoid this, because you don't want to be like, oh, so I just can't have any fat in my diet. The way that you avoid this is pay attention to what you're eating earlier in the day, several hours before you donate plasma, and the night before. So the night before you donate, try not to eat anything too fatty, or just do so sparingly. It's not like, again, you don't have to eliminate fats, but fat enters the bloodstream after 3 to 4 hours. So this is kind of a funny thing that I do. I like Taco Bell a lot, but Taco Bell is definitely not free from fat. So one thing that happened to me this last week was, generally right before I go donate plasma, I eat a good meal so that I just have food in my stomach and I feel prepared. And I've often gotten like the $5 cravings box from Taco Bell, and because I did it right before I donated plasma, the fat actually had no chance to get into my bloodstream just because it doesn't get digested and absorbed that quickly. So I've always been fine doing that. Well, one day I was working on some other things and I got distracted, but I still had Taco Bell for lunch, but I went in the evening and it had been over 4 hours and I got deferred for the day. I got kicked out early. It's not that bad. It's not embarrassing. The alarm just goes off on the machine. They come over, they're like, oh, it looks like your blood's lipemic, so it's probably gonna sound a couple more times and then we'll have to end it early. And so it just stinks because it's a waste of time. It's a waste of having a needle put in your arm. You still get the $20, the minimum compensation there, but it's not as good as it could be if it was a full donation. And so I could have avoided that. Again, if I avoided those foods that are heavy in fat several hours before the donation process. Some that you're going to want to look out for that are the sneaky ones: peanut butter, avocados. They seem like semi-healthy choices, but they definitely have a lot of fats in them. So just be thinking about what you're eating and how much fat is in those things. And if you avoid that within, the more than 3 to 4 hours before donating plasma, the night before, the morning of that day, you should be fine. And if you want to have a fatty, greasy lunch right before you donate, that's okay, because it won't make a difference if it's within, that short period of 3 to 4 hours, because the fat won't get into the bloodstream that way. People also wonder about caffeine. How does that affect you? Because I know that plasma centers tell people avoid caffeine before and after donating plasma, and this is my understanding of it. I did avoid it like religiously just to make sure it didn't do anything weird to me when donating plasma, and this is my understanding. Again, I'm not like a medical professional. I don't have a perfect knowledge of all these things, but the way I understand it is caffeine, obviously it's a stimulant. It raises your heart rate, but it's also a diuretic, which means it makes you pee. It can make you dehydrated because it makes you pee more often. And so that's probably the biggest concern. I think the amount of caffeine that you take, obviously the more of a diuretic effect it will have, the more it will raise your heart rate, but that also depends on your tolerance of caffeine. So for me, I have caffeine semi-often, but I don't drink coffee, so it's not like huge quantities. It's more like I have a Mountain Dew once in a while. So I actually had a Mountain Dew with my Taco Bell box today before I donated, and it didn't affect me at all. My heart rate was normal, and so I was able to donate just fine, and I didn't feel like I was losing too many fluids from its diuretic effect, because the amount I drank wasn't so much that was an issue. So be careful with caffeine, but again, I think the biggest issue is the diuretic effect. If you drink it right before you donate, one of the things they do when they screen you is they want to make sure your heart rate is below 100. So I did have a bigger serving of Mountain Dew one day before I went and donated plasma, and my heart rate was 101. So in that case, they make me sit and rest for a minute and retake your pulse to check how you're doing, because again, if it's over 100 twice in a row, you're deferred for the day. It's just one of those things they screen for to make sure you're healthy enough to donate. And so what I did is I just took a deep breath, actually kind of held my breath a little bit to make sure that my pulse was low enough that second time. Kind of little trick you can do there to lower your pulse. But if your pulse is genuinely too high, of course, I wouldn't recommend you trying to cheat the screening there to get in for your own health and safety. But when I knew caffeine was the cause of that, I just kind of made it through like that. But again, that higher elevated heart rate and pulse is something to worry about if you have a lot of caffeine before you go and donate. So keep that in mind. That's definitely a concern. Other than that, just keep a healthy diet. The obvious one that I haven't mentioned yet is drink a lot of water. Stay really hydrated before and after. The thing is, if you stay hydrated, your donation's going to go a lot smoother. It's going to go faster. It's probably going to you're not going to feel as bad if you're dehydrated. It's probably going to make you feel sluggish, and the donation will go a lot slower. You'll be hooked up to the machine for a lot longer. But staying hydrated makes it as smooth as possible. Hydrating afterward will help you replenish those fluids and plasma quicker. It's just super, super important. So drink lots of water. Make sure your protein levels and the protein that you consume in foods is good. Avoid those fatty meals before you go donate. 3-4 hours before you donate. Right before is not a big deal. And be careful with your caffeine consumption. But if you have any other questions about your diet and what you should eat and what you should look out for when you're donating plasma, please leave questions in the comments below. I love to interact with you in the comments. I appreciate all of you who have given me good feedback on this channel. And if you like this video, let me know with the like button and subscribe. And I'll make more helpful videos like this in the future. So we'll see you next time.